In this episode of Derp, I've applied a shader to the worm boss so I can add new variations to the dimensions by simply changing the gradient. So I have the space worm and the aqua worm, which is green and blue. This dimension is particularly chaotic, so it's hard to show. And the thunder worm in the Olympus dimension, which is gold and black. The first issue that I want to fix is the space worm body segments are disappearing. As you can see, they get cut off and the rings are visible, but the polygons are not sometimes. The worm boss is generated procedurally, but I've made a static worm so I can see the issue better, and it still does it in the editor, as you can see. So if I reset the skeleton to the rest pose, you can see that it's straight out to the right, and the polygon's position is set to line up with the bones. So the X coordinate is increasing for each polygon. But then when you rotate the bones in the skeleton, like this, now the skeleton is over to the left, but the polygons are still to the right, so when they move out of the camera range, they disappear. Now to fix this, instead of setting the position, I'll set the offset. And I'll do that again. So now the body segments remain visible, these two, because their position is at the tail now instead of over to the right. So to fix this in the code, I'll open up the polygon scene and set the offset instead of the position. Then in the shape scene, in the set polygon X function, which is called from the worm builder, instead of setting the position.x, I'll set the offset.x, and then it adds 160 and calls it on the next segment until it gets to the head. So now the worm body segments should no longer disappear. As you can see. So last time I made 3 variations for the thunder, space, and aqua worms, and each variant has a unique color gradient. So now I want to apply the gradient to the worm. So in the worm class, I'll make a new variable for the color gradient, set to type gradient, and in the worm boss encounter, in init worm, I'll set the worm color gradient equal to the splash gradient, which is set in the boss encounter base class. So And I also want to load the Olympus dimension so I can see the changes to the thunder worm as I apply them. Now to set the laser color, I'll open up the head bone and attach a new script. I'll make a function to set the laser color to the gradient. First, I'll get the laser node, which is at laser reset xform line 2D. Then I want to get the inner and outer colors. This will be at 0.75 and 1. So the outer color will be gold and the inner will be yellow for the thunder worm, purple and magenta for the space worm, and light and dark green for the aqua. So I'll set the inner color equal to gradient sample at 1 and the outer color equal to gradient sample at 0.75. Now I want to change the color of the laser fill texture gradient. And I want to set the colors, which is under raw data, change it from magenta and pink. So I'll set the laser.texture.gradient colors at 0 equal to the outer color. Set the first, the second and third index to the inner color, and the fourth color to the outer. Then in the worm class, when I build the worm, I'll set the head bone set laser color to the color gradient, and I'll copy this to the destroy segment function as well. And now the thunder worm should have a yellow laser beam instead of a pink one. As you can see, that did work. And the split worms have the color change as well. Now to change the lightning particle color, under process material on the emitter, you can change the base color to change the lightning colors. As you can see. So in the script, I'll set the laser particle 2D dot process material dot color equal to gradient sample at 0, and I'll set the second one to sample at 0.25. So this will be the silver and dark gray for the thunder worm. So now the lightning should no longer be purple, and it's black and gray now instead. I also want to set the color alpha to 0.5 so it blends a little better for both particle emitters. And in the worm class, I need to set the top half color gradient equal to the current color gradient so it can set the laser color, otherwise it throws an error. Now I want to change the color of the charge aura. So if you change the color under process materials to yellow, it turns red because the base color of the image is purple and it multiplies the color. So I'll open up the image in GIMP and turn the saturation down to make it grayscale and the lightness all the way up, and I can use brightness contrast to make it completely white. Then overwrite the image, and now the yellow color makes the aura turn yellow. So I'll reset the color to white, and in the base worm segment class, which is inherited by the tail, body, and head shapes, I'll add a new function to set the color gradient. With a gradient variable. So I'll set the charge aura process material color equal to gradient sampled at 1, which is yellow. Then I'll set the opacity to 0.5. So the alpha channel, so that it's semi-transparent. Then if the next segment is not null, so if it's not the head, set the gradient color on the next segment as well, so it sets the color for the whole worm recursively. Now in the worm build function, after the tail setup, I'll call set color gradient on the tail with the worm color, and I'll do this in the destroy segment function as well. So now when the worm does the charge attack, the aura should be yellow, as you can see. Then instead of setting the laser color in the worm build and destroy segment functions, I'll put the call in the head shape instead. So I'll override the set color gradient function and pass the gradient. So I'll call the super function because I still want to set the aura color. Then I'll call bone.setLaserColor with the gradient and make sure that still works. And the laser is yellow. so that's good. Now I want to set the wyrm color and texture procedurally. So I'll set the polygon texture to a dark to light gradient, and I'll set the canvas item material to a new shader material. Make a new shader. Then I'll add a uniform sampler 2D for the gradient. Set it to hint default black. And now in the editor, I can set the colors. Then I'll get the background mask color, which is texture of the texture at the UV, and the background color is texture of the gradient at the background mask dot R value and 0. So now I can set the color to the background color, and it will generate the gradient in the polygon. So now I've made a new scale pattern using the symmetry painting function in GIMP. So I want to add a new uniform sampler export variable to the shader for the overlay. And drag the PNG into the variable through the editor. Then I'll get the overlay color, which is the texture of the overlay at the UV. Now, one option would just be to mix the background and overlay color. By the overlay alpha channel. And that looks pretty good, but I'm going to use the dodge and burn effects instead to make the colors more vibrant so it doesn't wash it out like this. So I'll go to godot.shaders.com to the blending modes page and copy the color burn function. And instead of using the mix, I'll use color burn, the background color and the overlay color. So it looks like this. Now this is darker than I want it to be because it's not taking the transparency into account. So I'll set this to a new variable. Then I'll blend the burn equals mix the base color with the burn color by the blend.alpha. And it does change a little bit, but the black is still very prevalent. So what I need to do is clamp the burn values because they're outside the range, and when they mix, it's not working correctly. So I'll clamp the burn, and the minimum values is 0 for all 4, and the max value is 1. So now it is properly shading the scales the way I want it to. Then I'll grab the color dodge function from Godot shaders and paste that. So we'll make the dodge variable and return that. Then do the clamp and mix as well. Then in the fragment function, I'll set the blended color equal to color dodge with the blended color and the overlay. So now the scales look like that. Now to set the gradient to the wyrm color, I'll open up the body shape class and override the set color gradient function. I'll call the super, which is from the parent class. Then set the polygon material dot get shader parameter slash gradient dot gradient equal to the gradient parameter. And now the wyrm is black and gold, and I think it looks pretty good. So I made the mask and overlay for the head and tail in GIMP, but I did that off camera because it's not particularly exciting. So now I can drag the background mask into the tail texture and set the material to the body polygon shader, and I'll set up a default gradient. And set the overlay image, which looks like that. So the background is opaque, but I want it to trim around the edge. So in the shader script, in fragment, once it's done getting the blended color, I'll set the alpha value to the background mask alpha. So now it just colors in the part on the inside. Then I'll copy the set shader parameter out of the body shape class and into the segment base class. And I want to check if the polygon does not equal null. Set the material gradient. So now when I run the project, the thunderworm should have a black and gold tail. As you can see, it matches the body, and now I just have to do the head and jaw. Now for the head, I have two sprites for the upper and lower part, so I'll apply the texture instead of a UV because it's difficult to map programmatically. And I'll set up the gradient. And set the overlay, which looks like that. And I'll do the same for the jaw sprite. So set the background and the material, make the gradient, and I could just leave this at the black and white, but I prefer to have the colors for testing whenever I make changes. So I'll apply the overlay, and then I made the teeth separate, so I'll add those as child nodes of the head and jaw. Reset the transform. And now it looks like that. Now in the set laser color function, I'll copy the set gradient set parameter on the shader material on the head and jaw. Since this is already called in the worm setup, now the head is procedurally colored as well. And if I switch back to the space dimension, now the worm is blue and pink and purple. So that's all for this episode of Derp Star. I'll be working on the IDK dungeon crawler for the next episode. I've been working on a starter town, and I found some 3D assets to use, so that should be pretty cool. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.